Thank you, Chairman. The meeting is now live streaming.
Lovely. Thank you, Therese. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cabinet on Monday, the 22nd of March at 9:30. Great to see you all. What a lovely sunny day it is after what was quite a miserable grey weekend, or particularly it was down here. We'll crack straight on with the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 1st of February 2021. Our colleagues happy that they're true. Oh, I beg your pardon. And they include the restricted minutes for the meeting on the 4th of January 2021 also. So sorry for that. So just to confirm, these are the minutes, including the restricted minutes held on the 1st of February 2021 and the restricted minutes also for the 4th of January 2021. Our colleagues happy these are a true and accurate record. I can see thumbs up, so thank you very much for that. Teresa, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We've had apologies from Councillor Phil Cowan.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Item 3, urgent business. I haven't got any. Item 4, declarations of interest. If I can ask that colleagues state that when we get to those items, particularly this is pertinent to Cabinet members, if and when we have to take a vote on any of the items on today's agenda. Item 4, non-members wishing to address the meeting. Good morning, you are all most welcome. Chairman's announcements. I only have one brief announcement, colleagues, and ahead of the National Day of Reflection tomorrow, I'd like to pay tribute to all of those who have lost their lives during the coronavirus pandemic, but also to thank all those national health workers, armed forces personnel, blue light services, council staff, and the hundreds of thousands of volunteers and everybody who's helped others during the pandemic. Tomorrow at 12 p.m, we will hold a minute's silence to pay our respects across the country, and I hope you all join me and other members of this council in doing so. Perhaps one of the biggest lessons we've learned from this pandemic is that by pulling together, we can achieve absolutely anything, including overcoming one of the greatest health pandemics and emergencies of our lifetime. So we'll move straight on to the next item within the agenda pack, which is community funding application standard item. Councillor Robinson to present, please.
Thank you, Chairman. On this occasion, we have no community grants coming forward. One thing I would like to mention, though, is that since the budget and the government announced another raft of support for both our business and our community sectors, the team are looking at that, how it breaks down for our residents, our business community, and the organisations that have been supporting during the pandemic.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed, Mark. We'll move on to item 8 then, which is the Q3 performance update. Councillor Sarah Suggett to present, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. So the Q3 performance report was presented at overview and scrutiny on the 4th of March. Colleagues will have noted then, and same today, that the new format, which shows data without the visual aid of infographics. This change was made following feedback from members who were concerned. One of the reasons was a concern that the graphics were being scrutinised more than the data itself. I'd like to draw your attention to the huge improvement seen in the customer contact centre. Historically, this area has struggled to achieve its targets, but thanks to better performance management, a new telephone appointment system and an automated callback system, I'm pleased to say matters have improved dramatically. The waste service continues to perform well, with 99.95% of bins being collected, and the planning indicators shown are also pleasing. Q3 did show a rise in staff illness. However, this is being closely monitored by HR. The KPIs are set to be discussed at overview and scrutiny on the 22nd of April, where members will be able to have their say on areas they may wish to see reported. And unless there are any questions, can I ask Cabinet colleagues to note the Q3 performance report? Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. Any questions from Cabinet colleagues at all in relation to the Q3? No. Any other questions from colleagues across the council? I can't see any. No. Okay. Our Cabinet colleagues happy to note the contents of the report? Thank you very much. That's an indication. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you to the team for their hard work, and also to the Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny and the other members of that commission for the work they've done behind the scenes in the changes which have been brought forward. So thank you for that. Item 9 then, which is the local plan production budget for 2020. Councillor Paul Clousen to present, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This report is to seek approval to carry forward an underspend of £73,670 because, simply put, we put the local plan on pause. Now, the reasons for that, I will just briefly recap. If you remember back in June, we approved to go for a full review of the local plan, as opposed to the partial review, which was the option, and we also dismissed doing a hybrid. Subsequent to that, other bits of legislation came out, a white paper and other bits of consultation. All of the things that came out in there made the way we were looking at doing the local plan, we had to question what was happening and question it very seriously. For example, they were telling us that within the emergent white paper that local plans would be done in a completely different way. So without any detail. So rather than just forging ahead, what we then sought to do was to engage with the ministry, MHCLG, and to seek some clarity, because we have an adopted plan, as you will see from the report. The adopted plan was in 2019. So we are not in the situation of neighbouring authorities who have yet to adopt a plan. However, we were instructed to carry out the review, some of which does not appear in the emerging white paper. So therefore, it would have seemed an utter waste of money, particularly at a time when finances for local government and government in general are under such pressure. So I'll give one little example, is the Gypsies and Travellers. Now that is at the moment subject to some High Court actions. And so nobody knows, not even central government, I wouldn't have thought, will know what the outcome of that is. So we found ourselves in the situation where we certainly were not going to waste money. The upstart of the consultations that I mentioned was that the ministry had well over 40,000 submissions. And one of those was from us seeking clarity on what we should do with regard to going forward, particularly with regard to the way we looked at what the inspector had requested us to do. Now, it's really no surprise that it's taken some time to get a response from them, given the amount of work and pressure that they have been under. So I can tell everybody that we do actually have a date in the diary going forward. And that date in the diary going forward is the 3rd week of April. What the outcome of that, I cannot prejudge, I will not prejudge, and whether there will be anything to report or not, because it might be just a meeting about another meeting. So if there is anything to report, then we will report it. So I hope I have stated the reasons, Chairman, why we decided not to spend the money, why we decided that it would be a waste of money to do that at this particular time. There is, in the background, other works going on, and Councillor Atwell has asked for that as a written report, and that will be coming to the next planning committee. So there is works going on, and that will be spelled out. And not wanting to do any duplication, that's the one thing that I hate, that isn't forming part of this report, because this report is there purely to ask for a rollover of money. Hopefully that covers everything sufficiently, Chairman.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul, for that summary and the position of where we are with the local plan, your ongoing dialogue with the department, and the confirmation that this is a rollover of the current existing budget. So questions from Cabinet colleagues, please, if any at all. I've got Councillor Hewitt to start, please.
An observation rather than a question, Chair, more than anything else. I mean, it seems abundantly clear that the national picture is in a state of flux, and this is just a pragmatic way of making sure that we're ready to react to that flux as and when it unfolds. I absolutely endorse the recommendation in the report.
Lovely, thank you. Paul, any other questions or comments from other colleagues? Zooming across. I've got Councillor Atwell, please.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Paul, for that report, which made total sense to me. Thank you very much for that. Just would like to ask, on this rollover of the budget, you've got in item 1.8 of the report on page 32, you've got a whole list there of, I presume that's going to be external reports that are going to have to be produced. We're going to have to get consultants to carry out that work. Have you actually got costings for each of those items? Have we got costings ready to go so we can place orders to get those various assessments done? And if so, could we see a breakdown of that, please? Because I'm also just wondering whether actually the budget is enough. I see we've got the rollover, which I understand the reasons why, but I'd like to understand what the total budget is going forward to produce the local plan review. Sorry, just get rid of my phone. The local plan review, and really just to have a look and see, get a feel for whether we've actually got enough money in to do proper assessments on some of these things. Because I mean, things like travel plans, etc. If you want to do those properly, you need some serious money to do that if we're going to have a positive outcome for our communities. So I'd appreciate a little bit more information on that if possible, please. Thank you.
On some of those, I think I'd be in the same boat as you, Councillor Atwell, because I'm not sure of that list 100% what will and what will not be in the local plan going forward, or what the government will expect to be in a local plan going forward. As far as the costing is concerned, they are a complete work in progress. Some of the issues on there are where we work with partners, and the one thing that I omitted to say, which I'm sure you know full well, was one of the things that came out during this process was the infamous algorithm, where we now know that our new figures are far more where we would have hoped to have seen them. So it is a work in progress. We will share what when we know what we're doing fully. So that's really a non-answer. Apologies for that. Some things we know, some things we don't, and that is the situation as it is at the moment.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. Any other questions from any other colleagues? Councillor Atwell again, please.
Thank you for indulging me again, Leader. For Councillor Clausen again, just for clarity, and I think this was mentioned at the last planning meeting last week. I think Simon Wood alluded to it when he was pressed, that if we don't get this review carried out by a certain date, then some of our existing local plan policies will hold less weight when we're looking at planning matters going forward and assessing various applications. I think it would be helpful if you could write to all members, just advising them of what those potential policies problems could be for us down the line. I appreciate we're in a state of flux. I appreciate that there's lots of answers we're waiting from government. But this will have a knock-on effect later on for our communities if certain key policies fall by the wayside. And I do worry about that. And I do worry we'll get to a stage where it will be impossible for us to catch up before that deadline. So I think it would be wise, if possible, please, to let all members know what that situation would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I would imagine that you're talking there about neighbourhood plans, and neighbourhood plans are specifically included in the white paper going forward. So that hence my earlier comment when you asked me about that specifically to carry on. As far as everything else that you're asking, I would, it will form part of our dialogue with MHCLG going forward. because we do need to have an understanding of what you've just asked. And again, I will just say that that is scheduled for the 3rd week in April, and what we get back from that, I know not at the moment. Whether I get a specific answer for you then, I don't know. But yes, it's a fair question, and it's a question that we need to know as well. And I don't think there is clarity for us within what's emerged in the white paper.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. Okay, if there are no further questions, Councillor Clausen, are you happy to move the recommendation?
I think I just hit the wrong button there, Chairman. Apologies for that. Disappeared on you, disappeared on sound, but yes, happy to move the recommendation. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Our colleagues happy with the recommendations? Thank you very much indeed. So that recommendation is now moved. Item 10 then, the date of the next meeting. This will be held on Tuesday, the 4th of May at 9:30 on Teams. And that's closed the formal.
Sorry, Chairman, Councillor Burt has his hand up.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I was trying to get in on an item 9.5 because this doesn't. There's not really an agenda item to follow up from last month. I'd requested information last month about the WorkSmart 2020 project plan, and Councillor Hewitt asked me to email him directly. I have done so. He's acknowledged my email, but haven't heard any more about it. That was back in the very beginning of February. So just wondered where we were going on the getting the project plan overview so that we can see this.
Okay, thank you for the point, Councillor Burt, but I'm afraid I'm not willing to take that question at this moment in time. I'd have been happy to take it at the minutes of the previous meeting, but this isn't the place to raise that type of question. If you raised it with Councillor Hewitt already, I'm sure Councillor Hewitt will respond. If not, you're more than welcome to contact him again, either via telephone or email, but it's not on the formal agenda for the Council Cabinet today, and therefore